My pig-nosed weakling Governor Gregg Abbott wants to pardon a freshly convicted murderer because gun control rhetoric has gotten out of hand. Take a look at this tweet. Yeah, this is not hyperbole, folks. He wants to pardon a freshly convicted murderer, and it's over talking points, not reality. If you don't know what this is all about, after George Floyd's murder, there were some protests around the country. There was one in Austin, Texas. A guy by the name of Daniel Perry, who was really angry about the protests, and he told his friends he could get away with hurting people, with killing people, and claim self-defense. He said it in his own social media. Then during one of the protests in Austin, he pulls up to a group of people he could easily drive around, and he drove his car into that group of people. One of the people in that group was carrying an AK-47, which in my state of Texas, which I don't understand, it is legal to carry an AK-47 in a protest. Don't know why that's legal. It doesn't make sense, but it is legal. The guy carrying the AK-47 in this situation would be the myth of the good guy with the gun. He just saw someone drive into a crowd of people. He approached the car. By Daniel Perry's own testimony, he never pointed the weapon at the guy. He said the gun was held in the low ready position. And he said to police, it's on video, he said he didn't give Garrett Foster, the guy carrying the AK-47, didn't give him the opportunity to aim the weapon at him. He shot him. That's murder. You just drove into a crowd, and then you shot a member of that crowd that was trying to detain you. That's murder. That's horrific. That's horrible by anybody's circumstances. But because of gun control rhetoric, and a lot of misinformation that flows around it by these groups that are crazy, insane, and amosexuals, you've got a bunch of people that want Daniel Perry pardoned. They think that this is okay that he drove into a group of people. They think it's okay that he murdered their myth of the good guy with the gun, which obviously doesn't work because the good guy with the gun wasn't there to kill people. He was there to apprehend someone, and he was shot dead. So goes the myth with the good guy with the gun. Along those lines, you have this tweet from Ted Cruz that came out, ironically, just before the mass shooting we just had in Louisville, where a bank employee who was fired came back to the bank with an AR-15 and shot 9 people in the bank. Ted Cruz put this tweet out. Oh yeah, there were armed officers in that bank. And yeah, that's what they want to do in schools, like that's going to do anything. This guy shot the officers, killed one. You know, I mean, he murdered several people were injured. This myth also is a myth. It's not real. It's not based in reality, like none of these arguments against gun safety are. None of these arguments are based in reality. This shows us firsthand, the shooting in Louisville shows us. Another shooting that recently happened at the Covenant School in Nashville shows us also the good guy with the gun thing is a myth. Several of the people in that school were armed. And it didn't help. They did not stop the shooter. Several of the administrators were armed in that school, in the Covenant School. You know, the good guy with the gun is a myth. It's a myth. Let's move on to another amosexual myth. You've got this tweet from the NRA that only criminals will follow gun control laws. Well, laws, you know, we know that. We know that. Laws are written because we know criminals will ignore that law. It's not to prevent people from breaking a law. It's from stopping a bad situation by giving the government the ability in law to apply repercussions to people who break that law. You know, no murderer thinks about the murder statutes before they commit murder. You know, that entire argument is just the most ridiculous thing. All they're doing is preventing us from acting against these people. And it's ridiculous. It's stupid in the extreme. Laws give us, the people, via the government, the ability to act against criminals. That's what laws do. You know, these myths just keep propping up over and over and over again. The myth that guns are to somehow help you fight an oppressive government. When they wrote the Second Amendment, they didn't believe that. That's not why they wrote the Second Amendment. That was never a thought of theirs. It wasn't. Nobody respected militia then any more than they respect it now. They did not believe an individual with a gun was going to fight an oppressive government. Even if they coalesced together into a militia, they knew they stood no chance against a standing army. That's not why it was written. Folks, when they wrote that law, it was commonplace for royals to control dissent and differing ideas by running people off their land and starving them and their families. We had the Second Amendment back then so that people could feed themselves even if they disagreed with the government. You know, when they wrote that law, when they wrote the Second Amendment, they also wrote laws that said you must bring your weapons to the government for inspection of you and the government to determine whether or not you can own that weapon. Yeah, they were taking guns when they wrote that. Folks, everything the right says about weapons is a myth. Every right in the Constitution is abridged in some form. All of them. None of them are absolute. You know that. You know, the old one they teach you in grade school about you can't yell fire in a movie theater. That is an abridgment of the First Amendment. Speedy trial laws. There are reasons that the government can produce that says they cannot produce you for a speedy trial, and then all of a sudden habeas corpus is just out the window. It happens, folks. Stop living in Hollywood fantasy. Stop living in Hollywood fantasy. Every one of these arguments are tired and old and wrong. But you know what is real? The body count. The babies that are being killed in our schools. The people that are being shot in our banks. All of these, workplace shootings, on and on. This doesn't have to exist. This doesn't have to exist. If you vote Democrat, this will go away. If you vote the Republican Party out of existence, their insane rhetoric about Second Amendment solutions and all of the nonsense, the mythology that they bring up around weapons will go away. It will. We don't have to live like this. We don't. Vote Democrat, folks. I love you. This is Old Texas Paul out. You have a wonderful day. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button. I appreciate you.
The best part of waking up? MAGA tears in my cup. Check out the new MAGA tears mug available now at store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com. It's 100% union made right here in the USA. I know I'm not tired of winning yet. How about you? Get yours today.